Hello and welcome to this new CTO talk. I hope everyone hears me well enough and sees me. My name is Cornel Fatulescu. I'm Chief Platform Officer at Pentalog, meaning I'm in charge with the products development strategy and the technology strategy of the group. This CTO talk in particular requires a special introduction. We could talk previously about previous crises like COVID, but for this particular session, we are going to abstain ourselves and not talk with the ongoing crisis. I know everyone is bothered with the Ukraine crisis. So there are several reasons about it. First of all, because personally, I don't feel ready to have such a discussion openly with everyone. You need to be very rational about it and so forth. And I think I'm too involved in it, and everyone is today. And second of all, we really want to say we are peace supporters and we really want to support people in need. But for the sake of everyone's time here, and we are just going to focus on everything required related to the CTO role, but not to politics. So I hope everyone understands that, and the questions will be related only to what happens in this session and the CTO related questions. Now, getting back to this new CTO session, which I'm very, very happy we are able to do in this very odd moment, I could say. CTO talks are here to stress a bit the vision of the CTO role. From one point of view, we've developed one that is shared with you through the CTO fundamental series, where you have this ideal CTO, the CTO tactics, CTO strategy, and the better CTO. In the end, you have a model, an ideal model of a CTO. And now here in these sessions, we are stressing that model, and we ask real CTOs from real companies with interesting track record, how they implement the CTO role. And of course, I'm very, very happy today to have here with me Sergi. Sergi, please join us and share a few words about yourself and what makes wefox a great company.
Hello, Cornel. I hope that you can hear me, see me. Yes. Okay? Everything good? Perfect. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to have been invited by you. As you said, we hope to make everybody entertain a little bit, exchange some insights, information, explain a little bit, some track record, maybe some advice that we hope that you can use or that you find insightful.
Yes, yes, indeed. And I have lots of questions for you, Sergi. So as usual, a part of these questions come from a structure that we have, an idealistic view about the CTO role. A part comes from our internal community, and of course, the most important part should come from the audience. And I really want to see as many questions as we can get in chat. So don't hesitate whenever you feel Sergi says something familiar to you or not familiar enough, or you want to comment on something, please write in chat. I will read it and interrupt politely Sergi when that happens. And before those questions will pop in the chat, Sergi, can you say a few words about yourself?
Absolutely. So my name is Sergi Baños. I'm the CTO of wefox. I'm 30 years old. I joined at wefox 7 years ago. Was one of the first employees. Later, most likely, we're gonna dive deep into the journey of the role. But I have been involved in the company and growing with and together with the company within the role. As well, a little bit about myself. I like traveling a lot. I dive, so I like diving across the world. I think that we have to move outside of our professional role sometimes. So I'm a diver, and normally what I really like is, of course, technology, but in a big scene, not only software development as well, everything that comes up in energy, in robotics, or any particular technology that comes out. And I really always love to read more, to understand more about this.
And can you also say the story of wefox. So it seems to be a tremendous success. And can you say why? What happens?
Yeah, absolutely. So wefox is in the insurance industry. You may or may not already know. So we have had a successful financial rounds and really grow history during the last 7 years. wefox, what it's looking after is getting the concept of insurance, that we believe that it's something beautiful. You have a problem, I help you, and bring it back to 21st century. This, of course, applying technology. We develop our technologies in-house, and that as well we leverage the best tools in the market so to satisfy the services that are needed for the users. At the end, what we really want is what you expect as a user nowadays, that is you have an application to manage your insurance, to deal with your insurance, but as well that you have a touch point, a contact person in case that you need more advice. wefox provide it to you through technology.
Wow, it seems like today's world business way of looking at things, right?
Yeah, and absolutely. So the reason why we have been successful is because we have a unique approach. We are not just an insurance company. We are not just selling insurance. What we do is combining both worlds. We produce and we distribute, sell insurances, and through our technology, a platform that we have developed ourselves. So we are able to satisfy all the needs of the user. Some other companies focus more on creating products, selling insurances, and not that much on the advice like we are doing it.
Okay. So I have so many questions here. So let's start with the first one, basic one, about the CTO role. What's the definition of the CTO role at wefox?
Yeah, so it's the CTO role. I think that it's dependent of each company or of each business model and structure that are within the company organization. I think that depends a lot, and often you have to think on yourself, okay, has my role changed? And most likely yes, because the straightforward answer for me, the CTO roles change together with the company. And if I make a quick reflection, I can say that the first time that I took the CTO role, I was a hands-on CTO. I really was developing myself, understanding business, understanding technology, closing the gap, and being on the day-to-day business with the teams, on the sprints, on the backlogs, and everything, and actually even coding. But as the company gets more mature, the team gets bigger, and we basically acquire more skills and more professionals, like is the case of wefox, the role pass more towards really making sure that the business strategy, it's as well having a really big component of technology and the technology strategy. For example, technology, it's one of the big things that we have on the strategy of wefox, because as we said, we want to bring insurance back to 21st century with technology. So this is why if you lose the angle of technology when you are saying what we do, what we prioritize, how we do it, it's going to be a disconnect. And it's a lot of the struggles that a lot of people think. If technology doesn't contribute to the strategy and really early on, then later there is a misconnection. And that's why the role of the CTO today, for me, is really being contributing to a strategy, breaking down the strategy of the company towards our technology teams, and for sure deliver at the end of the day and maximizing the delivery of our products.
So that goes to a question that I had for later, but I'm going to say it. So there is a quote about technology strategy is business strategy and the other way around for the technology companies. How true is this for you?
Well, for me, there are not two different strategies, so I don't see them as two different strategies. I really like to work close together with what we can categorize as business, and make them understand that they want technology, and that technology is not just to serve business as well; it's part of the business. And we see that the successful technology companies like us, what we are selling is our technology. What we are just basically not just using technology, is saying what we have to prioritize to accomplish our business objective, but the business objective are developing technology as well.
Okay, so exceptionally for this session, when you say something that I think that requires being highlighted, so I write it back in the chat so that people can come back and rephrase with questions and things like this. So I'll get back to the natural order of questions that I had. So you said a few things about the definition of the role at wefox. You've been through some series there, 5 series, right? Investment rounds.
Yeah, a total of 5 with if we can extension of Series B. And yeah, since really early on, I was a big contributor of the investment story. And
can you say something that might help other CTOs today in regards to the role you played during these rounds, and how what was the most important things that you needed to do, provide support, pitch? Yeah, absolutely. So for the role of the CTO that I played in the different rounds, in the majority of them, was really understanding that I was the supporter of the vision pitch. So basically, what we were delivering to the world, our product. I was a supporter of what, in my case, Julian, the CEO of wefox, he was explaining to investors. So normally the flow was Julian was explaining the vision, highlighting the strategy that we wanted to do, and making everybody dream and feeling this final outcome that we're going to accomplish. And later I was supporting this exact same message by providing examples, making demos, being together hand in hand with the investors on really proactively, not just answering due diligence questions, as well becoming part of the vision of wefox. And I think that this is as well one of the reasons of the success of wefox, where our vision includes technology, includes what we want to accomplish, what we are delivering, and we are able to demo it and show it to investors that it's real, that it's not just something that it's a projection or an idea. So just as a parenthesis in the parenthesis, so for I had a short conversation with Sergi before this talk preparation, and I've understood, and Sergi allowed me to say this, that when he joined the company, he was not speaking English. Yeah, I joined and I was not speaking English. I was barely able to say, hello, my name is Sergi, and this is how I started. Later on, I decided that that was required for me to understand and express myself in English, because I had a lot of ideas that I wanted to share with everybody in the business, on everybody on the, let's say, the driving the strategy and moving the company forward. So that's why I moved outside of the comfort zone, and I started every single meeting saying, apologies, my English is not good, correct me if I'm wrong. And this created some trust relationship with some coworkers that helped me and support me by correcting me to be able to speak English. Oh, bravo! So I'm impressed. So and how was the you are also very young. What age you had when you started as a CTO? As a CTO, I had 24, 25, because I started as one of the first employees. So we were 3 engineers, just trying to publish some MVP or some application, to start with the seed round, to start with the value proposition and everything. So I was until, I think,
1 or 2 years within the company when I took over the role of CTO, because until then there were not CTO as a role. And this was because I understood technology. I started to code when I was 14, just for pleasure, looking at internet, Google, I think that is the best teacher. I started to code, understand technology, had a passion for technology, and later afterwards, at wefox, I had the opportunity to learn insurance, the business, understanding what we wanted to accomplish, and by dedicating hours and understanding both worlds, I had the opportunity to close the gap that sometimes is how we understand the problem that we are trying to solve in the business, in our case, insurance, and deliver technology that satisfies this part.
I've always been in contact with young CTOs, and but not as recently. So more and more CTOs contact me in private and ask questions about. I was thinking about them when hearing you. Is there one thing that you did in the first 2 years as a CTO that you wouldn't do today, that you regret? One thing that you consider not to do? Would you have something to share with them in this regard?
I think that the biggest advice that I would say will be stay humble. You are young. You have to learn from everybody, from people that may have more experience than you. But at the same time, make sure that you believe in yourself, that you really trust on yourself, because if you don't trust on yourself, nobody's gonna trust on you. So I think that finding the right balance between these two spots, not really being extremely confident and pretend to be the best one and having answer for everything, be able to say, I don't have the answer for that, but tomorrow I will be able to answer you. This is one of the best advice that I can give to anybody to starting as a CTO. Good.
And one last question before going to the normal trend. Did you have a role model or something as a CTO? Were you inspired by someone in particular that you can share with us and say, this was my model, and I, at least for some years, I was looking at it? Or
so as a person, not. I was checking or seeing constant different CTOs from technology leaders in big companies, but as well, I focus my role as well as part of learning not only from technical people, as well from other CEOs that really see how to explain a vision, how to transfer some message. Because I think that the role of CTO in a startup, in a scale up, it's transferring the vision, what you want to accomplish. So that's why I recommend that not only focus on really technical leaders, other CTOs in another companies, learn as well from CEOs, from really people that it's capable to explain a history, to coach people, to attract. And I think that this is the best, where you can pull some information. I didn't have a specific mentor. For sure, my mentor is Julian, the CEO of wefox, where he pushed me completely outside of my comfort zone constantly. And I think that as well, this made that taking the challenge make me grow in the role.
That's great feedback for an executive officer. Huh? So, okay, so you've touched a bit the topic, but I have a dedicated question for you. So I really want to insist on it. We consider that technical leaders and, of course, chief technology officers play an important translator role. So translate technology opportunities and risks into business opportunities and risk, and the other way around. So there's lots of translation around and making complexity accessible for everyone. How much of that is your role today?
Yeah, so I see what you mean with translator, and And I often see how the CTO has to understand the business and which are the objectives that we are trying to accomplish. But often I really don't like to sit as translator, because translator is more a service. So it's you want to share a message and you need to translate it to a different language, but the message is already predefined. I really see the role of CTO and the one that I execute as really active contributor on the message, so that later the message doesn't need translation. What I mean is, if you are a translator, you are serving, so it's a service what you are creating. In exchange, what we are trying to push at wefox and we are delivering, it's a product. And in order to deliver a product, you have to look much more than what is the actual framing of what you want to accomplish. Already includes the technology, and as with much more details, with much more explanation. And later, of course, there is rather than a translation, a breakdown into details. Really, what does it mean in technology, in reality? But it should be meaningful, the message, either for a technical person, for a business person, for a salesperson, for whoever it's in the company. And this, I think, that is the key spot where all the CTOs has to find to how to contribute to the vision, to really create a product rather than not just a translator and service of the business requirements.
Okay. And you've also talked about the executive officer and him as being a mentor. I also have a dedicated question about it in regards to, it seemed key for a CTO to spend as much time possible with the executive officer, something often neglected in many organizations. Now, you've gave some insights in these regards, but how much time do you really spend together, including lunch, discussions, exploration, working together?
So I agree with you. I really am a huge believer that spending time between the technical part of the company together with the more executive part of the company is key for the success of a technical organization. In my case, Julian always has been really supporting me, really guiding me, believing and trusting. I think that this is a key aspect from the executive to the CTO, but as well from the CTO to the executive deliver on understanding, not just maybe sometimes we frame a lot of problems, not just, oh, this is not possible, or we cannot do it, or this is stressful, we cannot deliver. Understanding what we want to accomplish and double down. So normally my relationship with Julian has been Julian coming and saying, we have to accomplish this, and it has been like, I understand you, but I think that we can do this, that it's much better than what you're proposing. And then it's like, yes, and let's make it, It's like a kind of seeing, not arguing, is not an agreement, not a confrontation or something like this. Is a way to really push each other. And regarding time, I'm based on Barcelona. He's based on Berlin. We have spent a lot of time, some even weekends together, where he invited me to Berlin to really work on several different things. And I would say that all time needed, I put this as a priority for me, that the relationship with and understanding between the CEO, Julian, and myself as CTO should be the clear priority.
Okay, and we have our first questions from Adrian, who asks you, Sergi, do you think an MBA is useful for a CTO?
Honest answer, no. At least if you are thinking on a CTO as the role that plays in a development company, in a technology company. If you are thinking on a CTO on a really big corporate organization, kind of a SVP, on a VP of engineering, that it's kind of playing the role of CTO in a really big corporate, then yes, because you're gonna have to play much more networking, and you're gonna run really bigger procurement processes, negotiations with a really big partners, then yes. But if we stick to the role of CTO of a developer development, driving forward the internal development and capabilities of the company, I think that it's rather, I will advise to go more towards a strong emphasis on the agile skills, on soft skills, on communication and storytelling, on understanding of the new technologies, rather than on an MBA.
Okay. So I hope, Adrian, you have your answer. And as a matter of principle, I will contribute a bit here. We had many debates in many events about the purpose and the usefulness of formal training and classical study path. And we couldn't correlate anything, the success with such path. However, there are different ways of development, and some might get more benefit from such course than others. So I think there's no causality, as Sergi said, but it doesn't mean it's useless.
Absolutely. So if I may say here, I think that any formal training gives you a tool set, give you tools to use for you to use in your daily basis. It's the same that I can say for my university degree. So where I study telecommunication, and I don't do anything about the wave or 4G signals or 5G signals in my day-to-day, but it gave me one thing, one tooling, that is the confidence of myself to say that today I don't know how to do something, and tomorrow I will be able to know the answer and work on a problem solving and really thinking on engineering thinking mindset. And for some people, for sure, more formal training, education will give them some tools that they will use in the day-to-day and to execute better their role.
So, Adrian, hope that you are satisfied with the answer, and don't hesitate to share new questions if you have. Let's go a bit further, Sergi, and talk about efficiency in general. And usually in the industry, when we talk about efficiency, we talk about governance, because governance is the area where we look at what we say we do, how efficient we do what we say we do. So we've taken some decisions. How efficient did we implement those decisions? We look at cycle times, we look at the results and things like this. Governance, but governance, when we talk with many CTOs, they got scared. Oh, governance, that's the side there's like a negative reaction to it. Is two questions. Is governance still relevant in your opinion? As for me, just saying, is it still relevant? And then what can you say about efficiency in general? How you enable that in the company?
Yeah, I think that it's a good question. And I have to be honest that I reflected on governance and understanding, proper understanding on the last 2.5 years or something like this, where I really understood what was in reality, how to apply it and how to use it on the benefit of the technology organization. And a straight answer, yes, I think that governance is needed, and it's not only needed, it's also useful for driving the second part, that is the efficiency. But let me express a little bit which is my ideal, and the same that we read almost any agile book, is the ideal team setup or working environment for everybody. That is, we have a bottom-up approach where the teams are able to collaborate. They have all the skills. They have they are not dependent of each other, and they can really make bottom-up approaches, that an ideation process that is contributing innovation to the company, and the company strategy can include these ideas and push them and really make them much more big and use them for the benefit of the company. This, at the end, is the ultimate goal of any technology team, that is motivate your team to really be hands-on, we have a value in wefox that is make things possible, really, like what we can do, how we can innovate, how we can push ourselves outside of the comfort zone. Otherwise, you get stuck. And then governance, what does here is just making sure that, rather than control, that this is the misleading part, is that basically it's driving efficiency. Instead of discussing the same approach, the same decision, as you were saying several times, governance what does is standardizing, creating guidelines on the benefit of everybody. Doesn't mean that you're making control gateways, that you're putting really big decision processes that makes everybody stuck. Governance has to be applied on the right way. And for me, I always see it like it's a little bit of guardrails that can be challenged at all point of time. Governance can be challenged, but with a justification, not because yesterday you read a Medium article that says that the new JavaScript technology is the best one. You have to include it in the tech stack or include it in a microservice. No, it should be a justification. We want to use this technology that is not in our technology stack because it's going to drive efficiency for this use case of high volume of transaction of blah, blah, blah. And then governance has to allow this challenge, has to embrace this challenge, analyze it, and make it part of the entire technology framework. And this is how we drive at wefox. At wefox, we have what we call Agv, Architectural Governance Board. It's a board that everybody on the technology team can propose some idea, some request, following a process. This process, it's quite simple. It's documenting what you want to accomplish, and it's creating several guardrails, several standards that helps everybody to maintain certain standardization. Let me give you an example of some of these actions, decisions, naming conventions of microservices, for example, or naming conventions of push topics for our Kafka broker, including Rust as a technology for our backend microservices. Could be as well certain architecture in terms of using aggregated views with the cross domain. There are hundreds of patterns and hundreds of decisions that we take collectively as a team, because everybody can challenge, everybody can contribute. They have 2 weeks to contribute. And this for me is governance. It's a way to create certain democracy within your team to enable everybody to be much more efficient at the end of the day.
And how does the consent work? How like everybody contributes to the and how do you end up with a shared common decision? Can you say something about it? Because that's usually something that bothers many organizations. How to too many ideas. What
the process is quite standard. So it's called RFC, request for comment, can be created by anybody. They start in draft. As soon as it's complete and gets presented to the Agv. The Agv is formed by one principal engineer of every single domain. The domains is our structure, how we are structured within the teams at wefox. And later it's myself there and everybody that want to join. This RFC should contain multiple options and understanding of what we are trying to accomplish, background, goal, and really problem framing, but as well an overview of the solution, risks as well, and problems. So it should contain everything, not should be fact-oriented, not opinion-oriented. This is really important because the majority of the times the discussion gets around opinions, not around facts. And then you put everything as much tangible as possible into a single document. And this document is socialized with everybody in the team. They have between 1 or 2 weeks, depending on how big is the decision, to contribute. And this contribution is provide feedback, comments, disagree, saying, I have experience in my previous company and this they will not work better if we do it in this way. I have experience that this technology has this problem and this problem and this problem. And then all of a sudden we have during 2 weeks a process where everybody contributes to the best idea. And then it's not like which solution is better, which idea is better. What we do is like, there is an idea, how we can improve it all together. And this is how we focus on at wefox. Make each RFC taking a decision all together in the technology team.
Okay, so in parallel, I put some notes in the question so that the RFC approach. So that might help the audience to get up to catch up when asking questions. Very, very interesting. And I would like to go back to governance efficiency proposals. There is something very, how can I say, at least at the beginning, controversial, let's say. It seems many organizations, they take too many decisions, right? And most of them are not even conscious, but let's say they take many decisions, and a huge part of that it's usually not implemented because some of them are impulsive, some of them are reactions, and there was this idea that I have also personally tested, and I was very happy with the outcome, but it's still controversial for many, is limiting the number of decisions we take, at least at the top level. In my opinion, I find it key. Bob in the CTO Fundamentals finds it key. So what do you think?
Well, it could be useful if your problem in the organization is this lack of follow-up on the decisions taken, or lack of implementation, or something like this. I will not apply it as a principle, but definitely it's a possible solution depending of the problem that you have. In my case, at wefox, what we try is to basically make sure that the decisions are being taken as low as possible. It's really complicated, and not all the teams do it, and not in all the cases can be done like this. And what we try is to allow the teams to take a decision in order that if they have analyzed the decision and they know how to make it, they're going to be able to really implement it much more faster and really steer and implement it much more efficient, as we were just saying. The decisions that has been to take more in the top management are regarding, I would not say even culture, but way of working. It's about how to embrace communication, how to embrace innovation, how to challenge the teams on pushing them outside of the comfort zone, because everybody, rather than too many decisions, what it is that the decisions taken are not really meaningful for half of the team sometimes. So how you can challenge them, how you can basically organize hackathons, how you can make really several actions from top down that really embrace this decision making. And then later you say, you take the decision, so you have the authority, but you have the accountability and the responsibility. So if you have the three things together, you basically can make it and you can run it. And this is basically the principle, how you can push this to the teams and make them really step up and taking ownership of their decisions. That is not easy, for sure.
Hear that? Okay, good. Technical debt. Can you say, as we are mostly in the generics now, a bit off the role CTO, technical debt. So many companies struggle with finding the right balance, managing technical debt, even having a definition of what technical debt means. So how does it work at wefox?
Let me connect it to the one before. Each of the teams decided. So it's, for me, it's depending, struggling on definition of the technical debt, it's because we are trying to apply macro definitions to something that most likely can arrive to be micro. Like technical debt could be a function that has not been changed for several months, and this is not working or can have some problems or something like this. At the same time, that can be an entire platform, can be legacy and technical debt, you know. And that's why what we do at wefox is we push the people to define what is technical debt for them, create technical debt transparent for everybody to understand. So this is like if it was a bug, like if it was a user story, like if it was any task, or we use Jira in the ticketing system, we as well create the technical debt, and the team decide which percentage allocate within the team in each sprint. Some teams are really hardcore and they say 20% always. And some other teams basically handle it depending of the deliverable, because it's like depending of if we have an important milestone to fulfill from business this sprint, we focus in less technical debt. After delivering, we focus on a bigger percentage. But what we do from the management is monitoring it. So we have KPIs, metrics. We control the throughput analysis, which percentage is allocated to technical debt, which percentage is to task, user stories, and bugs, and we make sure that there is a balance. If not, what we speak, it's engineering managers, engineering leads, and the entire team to embrace them to work more on the technical debt and include it as part of their day-to-day. Because otherwise you enter in the dichotomy of focusing one team into technical debt and the other team into deliver features, focus one entire sprint on kind of hackathon to resolve all the technical debt, but this doesn't work, or it's not a sustainable model.
And can you say something about some signs of when technical debt becomes dangerous for the company or the system itself? Do you have some symptoms you usually look at, or some ratios? Can you share something about it?
Yeah, the most prominent one will be inability to become better, I will say. So for me, when a team cannot become better, cannot automate more, they cannot deliver much more with the same resources, can easily blocked. For me, this is a symptom that there is some technical debt. And a clear example, or let me give you a clear example. For example, a deployment process. Something that could become a really technical debt is you have a legacy deployment process, or that is not with containers, and you are struggling to compile the application, to release. Only one person can release on the day of deployment, has to deploy from local. You don't have CI/CD or something like this because you have not created a good container, or you have not think on the deployment process. Then here for me it's a symptom that you cannot become release faster, you cannot release in daily basis. Here then there is a symptom of that there is danger for the company, because it's making at risk of not deliver much more. So then, and this example will be for me, okay, Tim, work on the solution to make for example, the application in a container, create an environment where you can run the containers, and second, automate the deployment process with a CI/CD with all the steps and everything that is needed, for example.
I hope the audience appreciates the signs, and if you're struggling with compiling, as Sergi said, or delivering more or more frequent, yeah, that might be not a good sign. My personal definition here about technical debt is the entire wish list of problems identified by the team that they trace, and shortcuts they take consciously so that they deliver at a particular moment faster or something, but they take a shortcut is not designed well and they know it. They did it and they put it in a list so that we can quantify it and keep it in the right parameters. And, I hope at least for the youngest among the audience, this could be helpful. We are here to learn, all of us. Okay, I'll go to DevSecOps, Sergi. Hope you are ready. So if there is one thing in DevSecOps, one recommendation that you'd say every team needs to be aware of, the one thing, what's that?
For me, it's like DevSecOps is just one role more within the team. So it's as important as the QA, as the developer, and has to be considered from the really early on in the definition of the user stories. I will say that this is the thing that I will advise. Like the most important thing is, and even more nowadays with the cloud technologies that we have, some DevOps operations and DevOps solutions are faster, more reliable, and most likely cheaper than to implement and to maintain than not the traditional development approach. So I will say that this, for me, DevSecOps has to be included. So one role more within the teams since really early on the definition of the task.
You've said about QA. We have DevSecOps, DataOps. We have the shift left. Everything that matters. It seems to be the way. Huh? It took us almost 100 years to understand that, but this is what. If it's difficult, if it's risky, we do it early. That was the philosophy, and we started to say, hey, let's put SysOps in with development to deliver faster, better, and so forth. Put DBAs in the team. Put quality assurance. That was a long time ago with agile testing and so forth. Now we have security. If this is important, put it early. There should be some sort of organizational limit for a small team to endure. And when do you think we will reach that limit, Sergi?
When we understand that the role definition of a person or an engineer doesn't matter. So at the end, my question is, if I remember well, you have development background. Does this mean that you don't know how to deploy a service into AWS and have DevOps capabilities? Because this means that basically you are capable to read a wiki and to read the documentation and to be able to do it, right? So when we understand as managers that the QA is not the only one doing QA, that basically the DevOps is not the only one allowed to deploy things into production, that the security has not to be done by the security master, you know? When we understand that the role definition of a person is just that he's the expert, but we transform this expert by, instead of being the one doing it, by being the one teaching, educating the other team members on how to make it as well, then you don't need to put everybody into the team, because then what you do is setting up everybody for success. The QA person that is within one team or could be outside of the team, if he understands and everybody understands that he is there to teach the role, to teach how to do QA, what to prioritize in quality assurance, and then, in my opinion, the developers has to do QA as well. And in the same way that QA is not just making the testing scenarios and making manual QA. I really want my QA people to develop the testing and automate the testing as well. So does this mean that he should be the only one doing the scenarios and the testing? No, for sure, can be done as well with like TDD at the really early on at the beginning. So that's why the kind of expertise roles within the team become really confusing. And I think that the limit, the boundaries, is when you understand that basically everybody could execute this role, and it's just about setting the people for success. And to setting up the people for success should be training, should be investment on the capabilities of the people, and really certain structure of governance to make sure that not everything is broke. You know, at the end we say that the expert on security are the only one to do security because we believe that he is the best one to do it, or the developer. The DevOps is the only one to deploy because he knows how to do it, know the guidelines, how to make it. But these guidelines could be explained to a developer and he can execute in the same way, you know? And this is a training investment to all the resources.
Yeah, in terms of mindset, I come from an extreme programming background where these barriers weren't there. But I'd like to challenge a bit with what you said. For the sake of the conversation, so that because I think what matters for us is to see how we position ourselves in these kind of situations. As you said, I was a developer, and I really I'm still doing it from time to time, and I enjoy it, and I thought I was a good developer, and I was deploying, and but when the DevOps emerged as a philosophy, I learned so much. I was ashamed, in a sense, like better working with environmental variables, key vaults, immutable infrastructure. It was so much innovation. I was looking at it as a shame not doing it before, and not thinking of it before. And it's a practice in itself. It's a huge domain in itself. And same in security today. So I think there's still matter of I'm still seeking for experts in these fields. But I think maybe the key in what you say is learning. So we still have the practice as expertise, but teaching everyone to doing it better or something.
So you just say it. So you were learning, and if now you have to do it again, I'm sure that you will apply the DevOps capabilities. I'm sure that you will apply these practices that you.
I would definitely refuse. I would say
exactly. So that's why, for me, it's this seek of expertise, position them as mentors, not as the only ones that they have to be able to do it. Otherwise, what you are making is making a fence around the problem. And this is what the big corporates have done. Like, you have 34 decision gates to put something into production. Or the release manager has to check that, has to check it. The risk manager has to do it. The security, the architects, 5 architect reviews. As soon as the architect review is done, back again in order that the risk highlighted by the architect and so on. Why? Because we make the experts accountable of the solution, deployed or developed by the others, instead of being accountable to teaching the resources and make them owners of the solution. And for sure, I have experts in my team that are security experts, the best DevOps, and really people that are experts in the field, teaching and really supporting the others on how to push it and make it. And this, of course, takes time. It's difficult to make and accomplish this part. But at the end, it's when you find the sweet spot, the balance, that it's making your team efficient, and you don't have to put everything into the team. Otherwise, you have 20 people team.
Music to my ears. So I hope this is music for everyone's ears. Huh? Thank you, Sergi. But it reminded me of 20 years ago when we were rational, unified process and secure software development lifecycle, and everything was in silos, and don't go there anymore. So I think that's quite helpful, and hopefully the audience likes that. We don't have much time, so remember, if you have questions, go for it. Meanwhile, I will ask Sergi about leadership at wefox, but before going to that, what's the size of your team?
Currently, we are at, with the onboarding of yesterday, we are 145 engineers. We're looking to grow to around 200. If I include the product development organization, including product, data science, something like this, we are in the 230, something like this.
Okay, and how would you define the in a summary mode, the leadership style of wefox?
So depends a lot of the leader and on the person. We look to really embrace different kind of leadership styles in order to find a really good complement. We have people that it's coming from more technology companies, some others that come from the insurance industry that brings the insurance value. Then we try to put the ownership of the developed solution to the team. We try to be team players. At the end, it's something that it's constantly repeated into the wefox, is that nobody succeeds alone and everybody succeeds together. And we fail together as well. And later, the leadership style or the proof of to everybody is like make things possible. Is and how we can accomplish to do something that nobody else has done. And I will not accept a no by an answer. So is how we can make it. And later we can speak about time, resources, money. But let me know how it's possible to make it, and then let's find the solution all together.
In Marius, it's I hope I'm spelling the name right, Marius. It's asking about your organizational structure, engineering managers, VPs. So how many people report to you directly, and if you can talk about?
Yeah, so the organization, it's below me, there are VPs of engineering and the chief architect. Underneath of them, they are engineering managers, and under the engineering managers, the engineering leads. Each engineering lead have one squad that contains all the capabilities to deliver a particular product or part of the business end to end. This means front end, back end, DevOps, QA, whoever needs to be involved into a squad. Okay, and then the organization, it's a structure what we call domains. We took the value chain of insurance. We go from the insurance product and later pass by the policy, the claims, the customer, the communications, FinOps, payments, and so on. We have defined these domains, and each engineering manager have one or multiple domains, and one domain contains multiple squads. It's a little bit of this organization.
Okay, Marius, I hope that helps you. Who's doing recruitment?
The person that needs the resource. So from engineering leads, engineering managers, myself, if I need the person. So if you need capabilities, you are in charge of taking or recruiting the person. At the end, we really want to make a hiring person that is 360 to make sure that the people sign off on the person that they need with the skill set that they need. And
skills assessment, is there a particular service or tooling you're using, or everyone in their team skills assessment?
Well, we have our technical test, depending of the position. All the positions has this technical assessment, and their own team evaluates the solution provided by the candidate.
Okay, one last question before making a conclusion, and a last word from Sergi for us. This is what I usually do, ending to the Act 2. So quickly, what OKRs are you accountable as CTO from Cosmina? So
from rather than OKRs, what I'm accountable is to deliver the strategy of the company. So at the same way that the entire company is accountable, what we do is we, together with the product department, as a product development organization, we define which are the biggest objective to accomplish. And these objectives are the key deliverables for the entire team, product and technology, both together, and they should be strongly aligned. And later, for sure, what we derive from the technology part is certain OKR that we call them technical OKRs for focus on technical depth, some refactor, some migration, some moving towards certain standard to enable the business to go fast.
And hopefully that answers to Cosmina. And we have last question from Marius. Marius, how do you handle with high turnover in tech now, talent and retention? That's nobody's problem, huh?
It's a good question, and I have to say that right now wefox currently has a churn of less than 2%, so we are quite satisfied with our churn and keeping the people, because it's really low. So because we dedicate a lot of time, effort on creating the culture and the team setup where people want to stay to work. So I know that it's important to attract new talent, but it's more important to maintain it at in-house. And that's why at wefox, we focus on creating talent. We run mentorship programs, Women in Tech, to not only attract, also create talent. And at the same time, we create a good atmosphere, good culture within the technology team to make sure that the people is here to stay, that really see themselves as part of the vision of wefox and really want to contribute to the vision.
Good. And thank you, audience, for the questions. Sergi, one last thing, because we have 1 minute. I really hope we will have the opportunity to discuss again, I don't know, in 1 year, and do another CTO talk and see what changes in your questions, in your answers. But before leaving, if there is one thing you'd like to recommend, suggest, thought for the audience, what is that?
I will say that the most important thing, or the biggest recommendation that I can make to all people aspiring to be a CTO or being a CTO, is that not an organization is perfect. So you have to work on your own organization, work together with the people in your team, because the changes are not gonna be driven by you as the key stakeholder or manager. The changes are gonna be made by the entire team and leave it by them. And this is why you have to make sure to listen, to embrace this change, and really support your entire team on the journey that all together you are going on. So make sure that you don't take all this into your shoulders and take the full responsibility as well. Make sure to have a constant interexchange with your organization and pushing all together towards the same spot that you want.
Wow. Thank you, Sergi, for this inspiring hour. I really hope we will hear each other again later in 1 year and see how things evolve. Audience, thank you for watching. We will share this again and again. It will be available on the site. Everyone, thank you for your time, and see you with the next occasion. There is a new CTO talk next week to celebrate also women in technologies, and it's a special CTO talk that we will have the next week as well. Each CTO talk is special. Thank you, Sergi. Bye.
Thank you very much.